Before we adjourn, I'm going to talk about something else that's not on the agenda, but I will ask for it to be on the agenda in a moment. Bear with me. I want to speak a few minutes about school board in general. First, let me say that although we don't always agree with each other on issues, we generally all do have the same vision for the district. And I have no doubt that every person on the school board really cares for the Gateway School District and is passionate about the work that we do here. With that being said, there are obviously misunderstandings about how to carry out our responsibilities. When someone crosses the line with personnel issues or trying to become part of a chain of command, it becomes confusing to everyone and it doesn't serve the district well at all. So I would like to just highlight a couple rules taken from the PSBA site about our role, all of us, as school directors. 1, a school board's authority is exercised through the collective decision of the entire board acting as a governing body. The law does not convey any power or authority upon individual school board members acting on their own merely by virtue of their office as school director. Number 2, school directors are not to work independently of the rest of the board. Number 3, they are not to represent interests of a single group or focus on a single issue. Number 4, they are to honor the sanctity of executive session. And lastly, they are to recognize the absence of authority outside of the collective board. Now you're wondering, why am I talking to you about this? Well, I've had multiple school board members over the last several weeks come to me and ask me to intervene as board president in regards to the actions of one of our colleagues. And many times over the last few years, we have dealt privately with this individual regarding actions that the rest of us thought were inappropriate. But when it gets to the point where a school director's behavior is causing the rest of the school board to be unable to function properly because of distrust, then it's time to intervene for the sake of the district. Taxpayers become disenfranchised if school directors are unable to function as they are elected to do, and it's unfair to employees and students in the district. Therefore, public action is necessary for the good of the board and the district. At this time, I would ask my fellow board members if anyone would like to introduce a resolution.
John,
At this point, we're going to introduce this as a motion to accept placing this on the agenda tonight for a vote. So at that point, you'd make, right?
I was going to read them and then ask for them to be admitted.
Well, we have to have a motion in a second.
Okay, you have to get a motion in a second.
Motion to add to the agenda discussion of school board behaviors and
Discussion of the
actions.
resolution at hand.
John so moves.
And I second, so now we can discuss and we
Okay.
can open up and
Well, we can't really, we're going to add it to the agenda now. So we're going to vote on it.
Yeah, we have to vote. We have
We
a
can-
motion in a second, we need to vote.
no, we can, it's open for discussion now.
Are you saying that you would like to read it?
Yes, I
and then
think we should, I
discuss
think
it?
now is we should read it and then we have the vote to.
We have to put it on the agenda first. It's not on the agenda.
Then you can read it.
Okay,
You're
that's
messing up
fine.
my game. Roll call to put it on the agenda, Bonnie.
Mr. Bova.
Aye.
Mrs. Cerrucci.
Aye.
Mr. Gottman.
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich. Mr. McIntyre.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning. Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mrs. Neely.
Okay, now it's on the agenda. Now I would like to ask if there is a resolution by board members.
Sure. Should I begin reading the resolution?
I think, I'll take the first section if you don't
Very
mind,
good,
Tom.
thank you.
Resolution of the Gateway School District condemning the actions of Ms. Valerie Warning in disseminating and divulging executive session materials and subject matter. Whereas Gateway School District is required from time to time to hold executive sessions outside the purview of the public to discuss and review litigation, real estate, employees and their conditions of employment and possible discipline, and other sensitive subjects that have attorney-client privileges attached to such subject matter. And whereas in order for Gateway School District to effectively deal with such subjects in their entirety, the district is required to discuss such subjects outside the general public purview. And
Whereas it is generally accepted with school districts across Pennsylvania and Gateway School District that they must be able to trust its directors to maintain the secrecy and privacy of said executive session discussions, all in order to effectively govern the activities and decisions of the district consistent with the oath of office that each board member is required to take upon entry of office. And whereas Valerie Warning has been informally admonished by her contemporary school directors to be cognizant of her responsibility and fiduciary duty to keep executive materials and discussions private. And whereas Valerie Warning has repeatedly and on several occasions breached this trust, thereby breaching her fiduciary duty to Gateway School District. And
Whereas the breach of this trust by revealing such executive session materials and discussions could cause a loss of the attorney-client privilege and possible insurance coverage, since said actions would be done by the individual outside the duties and responsibilities of a school director, now, therefore, be it resolved and enacted on this 23rd day of July, 2019 as follows. Number one, the continued breach by Valerie Warning of her fiduciary duty by divulging executive materials and discussions or otherwise leaking such information to employees and to the public is hereby condemned formally by the Gateway School District.
Valerie Warning shall be removed from any and all other committee seats on the Gateway School Board as directed by the president. If Valerie Warning continues to breach the trust of executive session materials and discussions, the Gateway School District shall consider court action consistent with Panther Valley School District versus R. Mickey Angst, decided in the Court of Common Pleas of Carbon County, Pennsylvania, Civil Action 12-1862. Said case was decided March 8th, 2013.
Section 4, all resolutions or parts of resolutions which are inconsistent herewith are hereby repealed. Section 5, if any section, clause, provision, or portion of this resolution shall be held invalid or unconstitutional by any court of competent jurisdiction, such decision shall not be or shall not affect any other section, clause, provision, or portion of this resolution, so long as it remains legally enforceable minus the invalid portion.
Thank you. Are there any other resolutions to be presented tonight?
Sure, there's a second one. Should we vote on each resolution separately, or we'll go
Or
right into
together?
the second one? Here's the second one. This is a resolution of the Gateway School District condemning the actions of Valerie Warning as a result of her interference and intermeddling with the day-to-day operations of the Gateway School District. Whereas it's the general duty of the Gateway School District school directors to adopt policies, make appointments, purchase materials, and establish school board departments, and whereas the Gateway School District administration is charged generally with the responsibility of operating and maintaining said school district on a day-to-day basis, and whereas it has come to the attention of the school directors of Gateway School District that Valerie Warning has engaged in a course of conduct which causes interference and intermeddling concerning the day-to-day operations of the Gateway School District, its employees, teachers, and administrators, and
Whereas it is not envisioned, nor is it within the power or responsibility of school directors to interfere, intermeddle, or attempt to control the day-to-day operations of the Gateway School District. And whereas several instances have been reported to the school board directors over the past several months concerning interference and intermeddling in the administrations and employees' affairs of the district by Valerie Warning, now therefore be it resolved and enacted this 23rd day of July, 2019, as follows.
Section 1, there have been reported to the school board director several instances of interference, intermeddling, leaking information, and harassment by Valerie Warning concerning the operation of Gateway School District, including employees, secretaries, aides, teachers, and administrators.
Instances of such conduct have been found in the Food Service Department, Human Relations Department, the IT Department, the Police Department, in classrooms, exercising
control over employees without notice or consent of the superintendent, entering buildings without proper notification to the superintendent, entering food lockers, entering classrooms without appointment with no legitimate purpose, notice to, or consent from the building principal's office nor the superintendent's office, leaking information concerning contract negotiations.
the continued course of such conduct and actions of Valerie Warning in interfering or intermeddling with the day-to-day operations of the Gateway School District, including those of employees, teachers, and administration is hereby condemned.
Such conduct by a board director is upsetting and repugnant to the morale of the school district as a whole.
If such course of conduct continues, the Board of Directors will initiate policies and procedures which will prohibit board members from having any contact with employees, teachers, or administrators without notice in writing and consent from the superintendent.
Section 6, all resolutions or parts of resolutions which are inconsistent herewith are hereby repealed. Section 7, if any section, clause, provision, or portion of this resolution shall be held invalid or unconstitutional by any court of competent jurisdiction, such decision shall not affect any other section, clause, provision, or portion of this resolution, so long as it remains legally enforceable minus the invalid portion.
Thank you. Is there a motion and a second?
So moved.
John
Second.
seconds.
John seconds. Would anybody like to open this up for discussion?
Before we go
vote?
there, I just want to say, Val, I know this is kind of hitting you heavy. Would you like us to maybe take a couple minutes before we go into discussion? If you have anything you want to say, I just want to give you a minute to maybe.
I'm fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I would like to say this. I was not necessarily in favor of this method of addressing this until I saw Ms. Warning in front of the Monroeville Council addressing them and apparently representing the school board. And in her brief comments, she indicated that apparently indicated that the school district has not adequately honored or respected first responders or veterans, and she had a plan for how to do that, which in and of itself is, a lovely thing. But one thing I learned when I first ran is a board member, a council member outside of this chamber and by themselves has zero authority. If there was a totem pole in the community, we are at the bottom. We serve everybody. We have no leverage. We have no ability to set policy or make decisions. The best thing we can do when we're outside these doors is, pick up some litter that's floating around. I don't understand how someone who could be on the board for 4 years could take it upon themselves to publicly proclaim that, then come up with a solution without any discussion amongst us. So for me, that was the tipping point. And again, I wish there had been a better way to do this, but I think our hand was forced, and so that's my explanation.
I'm just gonna make a comment. I rewatched that, and I know how I did approach that, saying we don't show enough attention, that was incorrect, we do show attention. I had discussed the event with the first responders and the police and the military with Dr. Short and Mr. Avesti. We have had community night in the past, which we didn't vote on. This had come up. I know there's another event that is going to be taking place also at the football games, which I know has not been discussed, but has been in the process of being planned. So I apologize. At this time, I will rescind my invitation to the first responders, to the military, and that I appreciate everything you do. I didn't realize it was going to cause this much. And personally, there's other things I'm dealing with right now. And I apologize for embarrassing the district.
Valerie, we apologize for putting you on the spot with this.
Right
But
now,
the message that we want to give
I
you
understand.
is that we want you to hear your colleagues, which is why all of them almost read these things, so that you understand
I understand.
that all of your colleagues want you to change some of these behaviors.
Okay.
We know that you have good intentions. We have tried to speak with you about some of these numerous things, not just that one incident. And we just want a commitment from you that you hear us and that you will try to change some of those behaviors, that's all.
it's fine with me.
And if I may follow up, Mary Beth, as difficult as this is for all of us, our goal was to thank you for all the good work that you've done, but you've made it difficult for the rest of us to operate. And so what we really want is for you to take this as what it truly is, a way out and a way up. Recognize that the weakness that we all have is offset by the strength of all of us working together, and we want you to be strong with us and not weaken us to move forward, because the people need a strong school board. The administration needs a strong school board, and if any one of us steps outside of us, it's the duty of the rest of us to take them aside, rebuke them, give them training, whatever it is, so that we could all win and serve together. That's our goal, for you to serve and serve well, right?
Very well said, Mr. Ritter.
At this time, I need to excuse myself.
Well,
That's why I leave.
I know, I didn't know anything about these charges. I never seen them till now. I work side by side with Valerie. I know sometimes me and her get her foot in her mouth, but the thing is, I know one thing about Valerie Warner. She has a heart of gold. She will not hurt anybody out there, and she's for the district. I mean, maybe she did make a few mistakes here, but there ain't nobody better on this board with a heart of gold as she has. Thank you.
Thank you, George.
If I could, Mr. Lapsus, I agree with you 99% there. I think Ms. Warren's intentions are all true, and I agree with you that her heart is in the right place. Unfortunately, it's the method at which she tries to act on the feelings she has from that heart that are at issue here. And my fear is, and hopefully she sees this later, I'm not sure that she actually just heard anything that was just said.
It was a bit much, yeah.
Well, it was a bit much, but then to respond by, the example Mr. Bova gave regarding the council meeting, the announcement of the event is not the issue. It's that she's literally was speaking on behalf of the district. That's the issue.
That's something we never discussed.
Right, and if you're speaking on behalf of the board or the district, it's something you have to come to us about. And if anybody's going to speak on behalf of the board, it's going to be the one sitting there with the gavel in her hand. And as far as, I know she is for the district and for the kids, as we've heard. The reality, though, is that her actions have cost us significant money in contract negotiations in several instances, and have come frightfully close to fairly extensive lawsuits in a number of cases, where because of a slip of the tongue or just revealing information, really exposed the district for some pretty heavy fines and compensation. So.
Well, for a school board member, to me, executive session, we deal with a lot of confidential legal issues. We deal with employee issues, personnel issues, contractual issues, people's salary requirements, benefits, all those things that must remain in confidence. And for the record, I have a sworn statement from an employee who revealed and received information about contract negotiation details of an employee before the actual employee received those. So those kind of actions really need to be addressed. And, this is uncomfortable for all of us because, we do care about Mrs. Warning. But as I tried to explain, that we need to act in the best interest of the district and for the board to continue to be able to function. And when you can't trust one of your colleagues and you can't speak freely or talk in executive session because you're fearful that information will not be kept confident, that's a real problem. And that has to change. And if it doesn't change, there's additional actions that we can take, and we will. Is there anyone else?
Yes, I'd just like to state that, as Valerie had said when she spoke about me, Valerie and I have known each other for a very, very long time. Our children have gone to school together, and she does wear her heart on her sleeve for Gateway. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. I've been with her through the, football and cheerleading and the whole 9 yards. So she does have very, very good intent for Gateway. But I do agree with Jack. You cannot, when you leave this boardroom, you are an individual citizen of Monroeville or Pitcairn, just like anybody else. You have no control to be out there making decisions and or trying to make intent of, in stating anything that comes from the board as a group. So that is something that anybody that sits in these seats and/or for the November election, if you decide to run, I think I've told Mary Beth before, and I've said it to Rick, you can't click your ruby slippers and get what you want all the time. That's not how this works. So, I'm sure she had the best of intent. It just probably came out wrong. And when it comes to confidentiality, the word is what it is. And, that's something that every board member needs to abide by. So, I'm sorry to have to vote on this on my first day sitting here, but I've been through worse. So, I hope Valerie reviews this and comes back and starts afresh with everybody.
Well said. Anyone else?
Yeah, Belle's heart is the gateway, black and gold, she bleeds it, and her problem is that she can't seem to be able to separate what she shares information-wise with friends and family and employees here at the school. And I spoke to her about it in the past, and she says, I know. And I think hopefully, this strikes a chord with her that, she needs to find the fine line of what she can share and what she can't share. But her heart is definitely a gateway, and she wants the best for us.
Could I have one more thing?
Yes, sir.
I don't know anybody's heart. I don't know what their intentions are, but when a school board member inserts themselves among personnel and personnel decisions and actually becomes part of the chain of command, it subverts the whole process. Employees who don't have her ear feel slighted and in a position of weakness. And I think that, again, this is unfortunately a necessary step, but somehow I think we also need to discuss with employees what they do or don't have to do relative to school board members. Because maybe they think that if one of us shows up, we have an open forum and they have to listen. And it's not quite that simple. So I hate policy and procedures as much as anybody, but maybe we need to, going forward, consider how we can empower the employees to have the opportunity to say, I'm uncomfortable with this conversation. Perhaps, we can address this in a better way. So.
Well said.
I just have one other just quick question though, and well, Mary Beth or Bill, you probably can answer. With the incoming election and the new people that are going to come on board, do you guys still do the little training kind of thing with them and the orientation so that everybody
Yes.
knows, this is not
In
okay?
fact,
It's mandatory.
This
Yeah.
coming December, with our new board members, there is a mandatory training for
Put
new
in there
board
just for
members.
you.
Well, it should be for new and old, so you're going to be there too,
I've had
honey,
it
sitting
4
right
times
there.
If there's a
I've been
meeting
through
that
it.
involves board anything, Mr. Ritter's there anyway.
But you understand what I'm saying? I mean, I know we did it
It's
years ago. but-
comprehensive.
yeah.
I think every board member here sat through an orientation with me. We had virtually every member of our central office administrators review jobs, responsibilities, duties, and
Yep.
And
how
it's-
the system works.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
But now it's mandated throughout the Commonwealth of
It's
Pennsylvania.
good.
So the purpose of this really is to publicly express disapproval, hoping that, that would help things to change and would better enable the district to function and the board to function. And we're going to vote to accept that to record, and then that will be the end of it for now.
We vote on this, is this going to be just one resolution, or is this two?
There's two.
2 resolutions.
So
There's two
we-
addressing two different issues. We have one
So-
resolution that addresses the leakage in the executive session, and the second resolution addresses the misconduct and overstepping of the bounds with employees.
So we currently have a motion and a second for each one?
Yeah, we kind of
Well,
put
as a
them
group.
together. If you
It's
want me
like
to,
taking section A for
want
business
me to
and
separate them out for the
No,
vote,
I'm
I
just
can.
curious how we're going to vote.
So we're going to
I was
vote
gonna
on them
vote on
as
accepting-
as a whole.
a whole.
Accepting both of the, can I do that? Accepting both of the resolutions into the record. There's really no action in these resolutions, it's just a public statement of the board condemning the actions. And do you want to speak to this at all? Legally, it kind of shows and gives it a little bit of protection that says that we're not, the rest of us are not.
That's right. One of the
Approving of
concerns,
these.
yeah, I think one of the concerns was that you might be culpable if you're not pointing this out, and you've done that. So you've, you've done what you had to do under the law by pointing it out, painful as it might be. I think it's appropriate at this point to call for the question. You know, I think less is more. I don't know that you have to say much more. I think everybody's been very eloquent in what they've said about it. Let's leave it there and let's see how it works.
So I'll give you copies of these, but
Yes,
I would like to do a roll call on accepting these two resolutions to the record.
Okay. Mrs. Cerucci?
Aye.
Mr. Gottman?
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich?
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Mrs. Warning? I'm sorry. Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mrs. Neely?
Aye.
Mr. Bova?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. With that, I would like to seek